Millions of children live on the edge of life, of society, of having their interests taken seriously. We've been following one man who wants to change all that, who's trying to put children at the heart of how we build our future. In the Andes Mountains of Peru, Amilcar, when we first met him, was mayor of Jesus Nazareno, a poor suburb of Ayacucho. Easter, his district's flower map was one among many. Now he's been elected to run the whole province of Huamanga. And beyond the celebrations, huge challenges. For in Huamanga, children grow up in the shadow of terrible violence.
Seguimos viviendo las consecuencias de la violencia.
We live with the consequences of violence, insecure children, children with anxiety disorders, depression, and violent behavior.
Conforme van desarrollándose.
As they develop, we want to cut this recurring cycle.
Across the world, Amilcar believes the shadow of violence, domestic, political, and plain criminal, hangs over too many children. But what can be done? To find some answers, we asked the mayor to take to the road in Brazil and first in his own country, Peru. Dawn on the Amazon, the phrase that launched 1,000 wildlife films. Over 3,000 kilometers to run, the Amazon in Iquitos floods every year. In the poor suburb of Belém, the adults are ready, and so are the kids. In the summer, this watery playground will be dry land. Boats and planes, the only way into Iquitos. No roads in, few cars. Once rubber made Iquitos rich, now oil. This isolated, jungle-bound Peruvian city is like a laboratory for the future. And the future, that's kids. But teachers at this Kindergarten Week rally fear the interests of children are too often neglected.
There are so many parents that don't want to enroll their kids in the school. They said that kindergarten is a waste of time, and that is not true. With this rally, we want to let the families and the community know that the kindergarten is very important, because kids learn from the time they are in their mother's womb.
Mayor Amilcar has flown in from Ayacucho in the Andes, his first trip to Iquitos and the Amazon. He's long believed the first few years of life are key to human development. So there's a question on his mind.
How are the children living? What hopes do the children have? What opportunities for developing their potential?
They're ready for the mayor at the Children of Peace Kindergarten. Judging by the friendly reception, the name is justified. But Amilcar learns appearances can be deceptive. Domestic problems not left at the school gates.
You can often see when kids are malnourished, when they come to school to sleep. They are sleepy all day and have a pale color on their faces. They are going through a difficult economic situation and not eating well.
These kids are bouncy enough, thanks to free kindergarten milk and meals. But there's also the first hint of a more intractable problem that will shadow the mayor's journey: violence.
Yes, kids are aggressive. Now they hit you, now they poke you, so you have to be alert all the time. They want to hit the other students with their pencil. Why? Because they see all this at home. They see this mistreatment of people among their families.
Amilcar is advised to take off-duty police bodyguards, useful guides for a neighborhood whose tranquil appearance can be deceptive. Children, the mayor learns, are growing up amidst more than one kind of violence.
Around here we have multiple problems of domestic violence, reported 2 or 3 times a day.
But not all of them are reported.
Obviously, not all of them are reported because of the fear of reprisals. At the bottom of this is the violence that kids are living with in their households. Parent irresponsibility and psychological mistreatment.
Domestic violence is serious, but it's not always the parents who cause the biggest problem for the police.
The problem in Belén is youth gangs.
There are youth gangs?
Yes, kids consuming drugs and alcohol from a very early age.
Hola, Ítala. ¿Cómo estás?
Consuming the right food, the mayor finds some inventive answers in Iquitos.
Hola, niñas. Hola, hola, buenas, hola. Hola, ¿cómo están? Muy bien.
The NGO Restinga, or Sanctuary, is teaching kids to grow a nutritious diet of tomatoes.
Show me what you're doing. You can plant the seeds in this?
Yes, in this we make a hole here and we put the seed here and then we leave it there.
The mayor wants to know how they measure their results.
This means learning to use food properly, a correct balance of nutritious meals for the kids.
Andres is one of the older kids Restinga's helping. At 13, he's thriving at school.
I am studying English, and when I have homework, I use this.
Hello, my name is Andres.
2 years ago, Andres might have been ferrying the mayor himself. He was a child boat driver, $1 for 5 hours. Andres wants to make sure Amilcar has a memory of child labor to take home. So he's asked the mayor to the Iquitos City Museum. Instead of adults working for children, children working for adults.
This is the child Jesus de la Caja.
And what is this, Andres?
He is a child that represents all the world that works. He is a child from Belén. He is not wearing shoes. His clothes are old and dirty because he is working. His shirt is dirty and his heart has been broken.
And that heart has a special meaning?
Yes,
What does it mean?
a broken heart because he is being mistreated. He used to clean shoes and he was badly paid. They mistreated him and they abandoned him.
Restinga means sanctuary, and the children's sanctuary Restinga runs is close by. Inside, a reminder it's not just young boys who are exploited in Iquitos.
This represents a working girl who sells fish on the streets. She is a girl from Belén and she doesn't have time to go to school. Her parents told her, "You have to sell everything. If not, you can't come back."
Restinga's director, Puchin, has helped kids like Andres with theatre and arts projects. But there's still much to do. Over 3 million child labourers in Peru.
If
If you go on the streets, where they walk on the streets, you can find children walking all around the center of town, children from 7, 8 years old. We work with children and their families. We work on the issue of violence with kids, because the kids in Belén are very violent, very, very violent. All their games are very violent. So what we try to do in our work is change their focus, change the violent gesture for different effective gestures. We work towards this through games and art, and we work with their families.
From Amilcar, congratulations and a gift from the Andes.
Okay, muchas gracias, qué lindo.
The mayor's back with bodyguard Freddie, and Freddie has a treat in store. So does the mayor. It's Freddie's daughter Nicole's birthday. At 7, she's 8 years younger than Amilcar's own daughter. Nicole's lucky. She tells Amilcar many of her friends don't know their dads.
Are all of them happy?
No, some of them are not happy. Like my little friends Carmen and Julio, they don't have a dad, they just have a mom.
The party over, Freddie and the mayor take to the Iquitos streets again. They're looking for kids of Nicole's age who are not partying, but working. It doesn't take long.
The city put this portable rubbish bin in the street, and the kids look through the rubbish to find stuff to recycle. They gather it during the whole early morning.
It's midnight, and they're still working.
Yeah, it's midnight and they go out at this time because if you get to know them, some of them study. So from that age, they know about the problems at home. They know there's no father to sustain the household economy, so the children support their mothers.
At a weekend workshop, the kids are coming to meet the important visitor from the Andes. They're rowed by youth worker Daniel, or by themselves. Most are thriving, but a few probing questions, and these children, whose parents know they're talking to us, are pretty frank.
Sometimes you see these drunk people crossing the bridge here. They are robbers, they rob you.
They will say, "Can you lend me something?" Then, when you're distracted, they will rob you.
What happens at home when the fathers drink too much?
He goes crazy, he acts crazy, doesn't know what he's going to do. He wanted to smash the mirror, they fight with the mothers run away. I want the alcoholism and the violence to disappear. Yes. The violence to disappear.
Academics have called the effect of a violent environment on children invisible wounds. Amilcar is learning how lasting they can be.
What I've learned in this community, in the Belén district, is that it is a very hostile environment of violence where children see drunken adults, principally men, fighting each other using knives and machetes. And then there is the aggression within households. That generates huge insecurity and violent behavior among the kids. So the kids can replicate these actions while they are growing up.
Amilcar wants to meet one of the workshop mums. He's off to see Miriam. Her daughter's fine, off playing. But Miriam does understand family violence.
I've seen cases. My mom suffers because my dad drinks. I saw how he fights.
And how often does he drink? Every week? How often?
Oh yes, every 3 days, sometimes. The whole week sometimes. So that's when I saw how he fought with my mom, how he insulted her.
Have you noticed any changes in your children, how they are behaving?
Yes, How can I tell you? Sometimes fathers use bad words. Sometimes you talk to kids and they say, "Go away, whore, fuck off." Because they've heard that in the way the fathers are speaking. Even though they are little kids, the words that they are using are very strong.
I have seen how children are living in extreme conditions of poverty, families in extreme poverty. And even though kids are the most vulnerable people in society and in a family, they are the ones that regrettably absorb both the good and the bad things in the families.
After Iquitos, Amilcar's journey takes him 1,000 kilometers south to Lima, the capital of Peru. In the recent election for mayor of Lima, the leading candidates agreed to prioritize early child development. The mayor of Huamanga wants to know where his colleague's putting any extra money she can find.
Where we are putting our main effort for children in my term of office is malnourishment, birth registration and early child development centers.
It's not just money. The big message from City Hall: attitudes to children have got to change.
Physical violence is a big problem in the sense of I punish you in order to discipline you. And this is very internalized. I have to be rough with you in order for you to grow in the right way. That is part of the culture and not necessarily seen as something wrong.
A third of Peru's children live in Lima and its shantytowns. Many families from the mayor's own province of Huamanga live in the desert-like suburb of Manchai. Julia walks her daughter to school. Back in the market where Julia works, Amilcar learns there are dangers in the big city for children, but advantages too.
The risks are here at every moment. You can't trust your neighbors to ask them, "Please, take my daughter with yours to the school." I cannot, because sometimes I can't trust anyone.
Are there any advantages with the education you're giving your little girl here?
There are big advantages here if you compare it to where we come from in the mountains. Here, she has one teacher especially for her, for the 3-year-olds. In her school, there are classes until 5, and every year they have their own teacher.
In Lima's National Museum, a grueling exhibition of events in the mayor's province 20 years ago. The Sendero Luminoso Maoist rebellion spread across Peru. The carnage costing 69,000 lives and traumatizing children. This was the reason so many families from the mayor's province fled to Lima.
This photograph shows us the reality of those times. The faces of frightened people, sad people, especially on the kids' faces, their eyes full of shyness and timidity. An older girl realizes that there is sadness in this place and pain, and you can see that in her eyes. Very innocent, not knowing what is happening. Children with no joy in their eyes. There is a state of pain, an insecure state, a frightened state, even with the armed forces there.
What Amilcar wants to know, are there invisible wounds from political violence? With a translator, he's researching the work of American psychologist Professor Cato Weingarten.
In what way does it affect the children and youth, and how does it impact on them later on?
Something that I've been researching for the last 20 years, and what I have found is that political violence can have an impact over generations. Even children who weren't born can be affected by political violence that occurred in the past.
He wants to know the mechanisms of how this violence can be transmitted to the next generation.
The biological one, I think, is very easy to understand. In that a great deal of violence, their physiology changes and they produce different levels of the hormone cortisol. When children are parented by an adult whose cortisol levels are dysregulated, that disrupts the child's hormonal regulation of cortisol, and that gets passed on to the children.
It's time for Amilcar to take some lessons back home, to Huamanga province and the city of Ayacucho. There's a more than usually musical homecoming. The reason? They're celebrating his birthday. Amilcar's wife is a doctor too. His proud mum, once a weaver. Next day, an hour's drive outside Ayacucho, the province of Huanta. Round here, bodies lay among the prickly pear. Amilcar's here to meet Juan and Gloria's family. He's accompanied by a child psychiatrist. Young Christian's been having behavioral problems, as his dad recognizes.
He has always had problems, and sometimes he gets violent. He's looking for revenge. He picks up stones and throws them at the windows and runs away.
And he broke the windows in the classroom.
Yes, he's not behaving well.
Christian's parents have their own memories of political violence, from when the Sendero guerrillas and the army visited their village.
I was scared.
Why were you scared?
Here, there, murders.
And did you see those murders?
Yes, I did see them.
I ran away from that problem. I didn't want to get involved in that. The problem was all around here, and that's what made me run away. Down in the fields, I saw dead bodies. I went and saw the corpses.
Dead bodies?
Yes, in the river. Dead bodies in the river.
Child psychiatrist Sarah tells Amilcar the violence of 20 years ago has affected the father's treatment of his son.
I
think that Christian's family is the type of family that has been affected by political violence, because that child practically doesn't recognize a paternal or maternal role. They think that they are the parents, but they don't have the bond between mother and son. They see their father just as a person that feeds them. So the violence that they have been passing through in the previous years has consequences in this family.
In once war-torn Huanta, doctors say there is a higher than usual level of child depression and family violence. Of course, violent behavior may have other causes. But the government has asked a top doctor to help children in Huanta. Children, it believes, are affected by the insidious trickle-down of political violence.
The findings that we have in the field of mental health were disturbing. For example, kids from 10 to 11 years old already having suicidal tendencies or already attempting suicide. We found this very worrying, so we presented a project to the national authority asking for a group of specialists on mental health to come here. And that is what we have been doing last year and continuing into this year too.
Mayor Amilcar is back in Ayacucho, in his office in its great colonial square. He's back with more everyday concerns, his family, and running a whole province. But armed with new ideas and insights, he's more determined than ever to pursue his dream.
Yes, we can end this violence. We must work with our children from their early years, even from the earliest age, including pregnancy. We can and we should intervene to give children respect for their rights, opportunities for their development, a loving environment where beyond their poverty they can have a proper and stable home with loving parents that can teach them to live with each other in harmony, in peace, in democracy, different but equals, a new society of girls and boys, builders of a new and just society.
In a school at the edge of Ayacucho, they're opening a new centre where parents learn how to help children develop. Amilcar isn't the only politician with a natural rapport for kids. He is one of the few to see them as the key to a new political future. To find out more about early child development in Latin America and globally, visit our website, tve.org/lifeonline.